Welcome back all. Today's build will focus on finishing the rest of our starter town before jumping over and starting the biggest city this side of the river. This episode will see the addition of quite a few things, including what we're looking at right now. Overall, we will pretty much double the total population on the map, as well as take one step forward to creating a more cohesive region. There's a lot of building and a lot of detailing in this episode. I got carried away at times, forgot to record some other times, but overall, I think it turned out great. So without further ado, let's continue building on the Ohio River. Alright, and we'll be starting today's build off right here. The empty space, then that peninsula, and next to the steel mill. The idea for this is going to be continuing the suburbs here, but kind of diversifying the general style here. I'm imagining a continuation of the classic American style in this grid-like fashion, with the peninsula having some nicer homes in the area. I'm thinking UK assets as well as maybe some Southwest assets. And before we get really into it, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for all the support so far the series has gotten. I really appreciate it. I didn't expect it, to get this much attention, so I'm just happy it's gone as well as it has. And I just want to thank you for the continued likes and the continued subscribes. I really appreciate it, guys. Alright, and here's the road layout for this area. The grid style, that's going to be those classic American homes. And then the peninsula will have some of those nicer UK assets. A few of the neighborhoods here, I decided to go with some carriage parking in the back of the home assets. And essentially what I did was I looked at the houses, and if they didn't have a driveway or garage built into the asset, I gave them a garage connected to an alleyway at the back of the houses. Ideally, this will help alleviate some of the traffic on the roads where most cars in this specific neighborhood will be parking in the back of their homes. It took a little bit to detail this up, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give us the first time lapse of the day. Alright, and there we have it, the first neighborhood for the day. I like it a lot. Sure, it's using the same assets that I've been plopping all over the place so far in the build, but I think adding the carriageways in the back and then just laying down a big canopy of trees really helps flesh it out, make it a little different than the neighborhood just across the street even. I also want to point out that a lot of times use the traffic mod to go through and put down some stop signs and make sure priorities on these roads are set up correctly. I don't really show it too much on camera, but it's going on a lot of times in the background, and I just think it helps to make sure I'm on top of managing traffic when I go through these builds, and kind of at the end set all the priority stuff. And then here I'll put down a park in this new neighborhood so that the people have somewhere to, hang out, and the kids have somewhere to play that's not, in the street or, throwing rocks at cars or whatever kids do these days. I also think having this connection to that Riverwalk makes it a pretty desirable neighborhood. I would imagine it's on a nice day, a family could walk down here by the river, see barges or fishing boats floating down the river, and then they can get to Main Street and go to a nice restaurant or shop around, what have you, all without having to worry about cars or anything like that. All right, and here's that nicer neighborhood with the UK assets. It looks like I'm also using some of the Southwest homes, the level fives, to give that. It looks like maybe some big mansions moved into the neighborhood too. Something I also didn't think of is the color of the roofs. A lot of times, the shingles on the roofs here will be more of a darker color, like a black or brown. So some of these assets are good, but some of these red, like clay tile roofs or like the red shingles, they're not entirely common. You still see them, so I'll leave some of them, but I think what I need to do is take some time, go back through the build, and really, like, especially the southwest assets, I need to go through some of those homes and change the colors of the roofs to slightly darker ones just to fit the tone of the area. But yeah, that's the finished neighborhood. I think it looks nice. It reminds me of that neighborhood you go to on Halloween where they give out the really big candy bars. And then now I'm gonna add some docks and piers. Not too many, but just a few to let you know that these people have some boats, and they make use of the fact that they're right up against the river here. Alright, and here I'm adding these like pontoon dock platforms. I think these are awesome. I kind of struggled to figure out how to use them. I was looking for like almost a central platform that these would then kind of branch off from, but I didn't seem to find one like that, so I ended up just using the one here. But then using Move It, I put these like prop poles down, and look at that. It like floats. It looks awesome. I then add the proper ramps to the dock so that people can, drag their cooler down here without having to worry about any steps or anything like that. And then, clearing out the landscaping and the brush, I get a dirt path down to here. Maybe they want to pave it in the future, but it seems like, right now they just got the platform, so they haven't really had time or the desire to kind of spruce up this little area yet, which is code for I didn't do that. And then listen, I know that these boat props can affect performance, but I just cannot help myself. These things look so good. I mean, look at them. This is a ramp that I had built, I think, in episode 2, but for whatever reason, I lost the footage. I don't know if I accidentally deleted it or what. I've had a few issues where the power is turned off at the apartment, so that's kind of messed up some of the recording, so that might have been what it is. But this is just a little area, where people can load and unload their boats. Gigantic cargo ship in the background. But yeah, here's the finished thing. Like I said, not too many ramps. I don't think the people with their backyards up against the main river would probably really want or be able to have a dock sitting out that way. But for the people in this little peninsula here on the inside, they make use of the availability of a private waterway, essentially. Alright, and here's gonna be something that I think you'll either absolutely love or you're absolutely gonna hate. But there's a river and there is land on either side of the river. We need to connect that land up somehow. And I think the most logical place to have a connection here would be on the outskirts of town next to, I don't know, some big industry. And so I want to do something different. Like I said at the start of the series, I don't want it all to be flat land because that's just not going to be an accurate representation of the area we're going for. So here I'm trying to figure out a connection and make sure I got all the heights right, but ultimately I think I need to slope up some of the land, and with this side being pretty developed, the opposite, or I guess the north side of the river, that's gonna have to be terraformed just a little bit. I'll be the first to admit it, but when it comes to terraforming, that's not exactly my strong suit. I especially don't know how to make anything that looks like a real hill, which is going to be a bit of a problem in the future of the series, considering this is supposed to be a hilly area that I'm making on a flat map. But this is the area of inspiration for me. What we're looking at here is the Lewis and Clark Bridge connecting Indiana to Louisville, essentially. This is all on the east side of Louisville, a little bit just outside of the city. But look at the hilly terrain that they were working with here. I back it out a little bit. But yeah, you can kind of see here there's a little bit of an incline. It might not be as huge as the one I just made, but I like the idea of that floodplain sort of there. And then yeah, this view here, you can see it's pretty steep hill. So I'm gonna try to recreate that little floodplain area here, where I'm just gonna drag a height just above that river level, and then I'm just gonna drag it along the cliffside here. It's still very much subject to change, but I just wanted to get the idea down. And then I'll start laying out the suspension bridge. It's a two-way 4-lane suspension bridge. I think it might be from a bridge pack mod. I don't think that's a vanilla asset. But now comes the part that I am just extremely bad at, which is making any semblance of a tunnel. Now I know in some cases it can't be helped with just how imperfect the tunnel system is in the game right now. We'll just say you'll see a tunnel here in the next couple seconds, and you'll hate it, and I hate it too. Just know I will be coming back, and I will be fixing this. I just wanted the connection. I'm not really focusing on this part right now, but I just want the idea for the terrain, and I need that connection to the other side of the river just to get the feel for, how much traffic will be going through here. That is also important. I'm not really playing. I'm playing basically easy mode, infinite money, all of that stuff. But in terms of traffic, infinite money's not going to fix traffic. So I really don't want to, get the sense of the traffic coming through this area and what all I need to build to support that traffic. And then in terms of connection, this is going to bypass the town and then connect directly into that highway in the back there. It's going to look a little jank here as well. I just want the connection to work, and I want the main focus here is the bridge, and then some of these on-off ramps that will be part of this into this industrial area. So I think let's all just sit back and relax, and we can watch me in a time lapse just making a complete, utter mess of the area here. Yeah, oof. But it's done, and all the connections are set up correctly, so it could be worse. I seem to have made a whoopsies. I do not have a recording for this next area, so essentially you guys get to enjoy some cinematics of what you would have seen me build out. But it's all fine. It's all good. It's going great. We're doing good here. So yeah, here's the area all said and done. I feel like the industrial area could use a little work. Still, the riverfront areas definitely still need some more things done to it, but that's all gonna wait for a future episode. But here you can see, nothing crazy happening. A lot of just surfaces, decals, and plopping down trailers. There's a few places I'd like to highlight though, and we'll get to that in a second. I should also point out that I did not have a cinematic until my time recording it now. So you see something like the rails are back to the vanilla. I had to change those because Tygon's update to his rail pack kind of made it obsolete. And so after I saw that, I panicked. And it's all back to vanilla, but I'll just have to get it all fixed and make sure I have the right packs installed so we'll be good to go in the future. But here is the salvage yard. I like this asset a lot. I don't use it enough. I think it's actually technically the muscle car garage. So I basically just extended out what they had on the inside, all the junk cars and that. Here's a mechanic shop. I like the garage with the yellow roof. I thought that was kind of unique. I kind of went a little too hard on the decals there. I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's hard to strike a balance with the amount of decals I use because the vanilla look of City Skylines is just too sanitized, I think. So using these decals a lot really just shows the dinginess of like actual outdoors. But then on the flip side of that, sometimes I feel like I just use the same decals and it gets a little repetitive. But here I think it's good. It's not too much. This is like a bike clubhouse, it's a little dingy. But then here, it's like an enterprise essentially in my head, but you can totally tell it's just the same decal, just placed in a line. So I don't know. It's something I could improve on for sure. And then the rest of this is just a mix of auto-centric commercial areas and some single family homes and even some Eastern European low rent you can see in the back by the bridge. So that completes the immediate town limits area, I guess you could say. Up next, I'll be building out the sister city to our planned major metropolitan area. There's a few ideas I have cooking up, and I'm excited for you guys to see it and for you to, let me know your thoughts. Starting off the build, I already went in and added a few highway connections. This one will be like a zigzagging local road into the south of this city here. I should also note a lot of things you see here are going to be subject to change, as this was a bit of a ride, let me tell you. Alright, and I should say it again, the goal for this city right here is to be definitely not dense, much more suburban than like an actual city, but it's going to be bigger than the city that we just built to the west of here. Once again, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from Indiana today with the town of Jeffersonville, which is just across the river from Louisville. It has the perfect kind of size that I'm going for. And I'll show you guys some Google Earth footage here soon, but if you just go on there, you can see it has a few tall buildings, but nothing compared to across the river in Louisville. So that's kind of the feel that I'm gonna go for here. And so what I'm building here next is something that I don't really know if I've seen anyone build on CS2 before, but I'm gonna try to make a levee. I was looking at, like I said, Google Earth, and I noticed that Jeffersonville has a pretty substantial levee around the entirety of its riverbanks. So in order to recreate that, I'm taking the wide sidewalk, and then with the the anarchy option to just keep it ground placed, on the ground, I could get this embankment kind of feel. And here you can see what I'm talking about. It's not a hugely dense city at all. But here's the levee. Now I can't get it 100% to be in a grass embankment. I think in order to do that I'd have to use some hills and like some terraforming, and I didn't want to fight all that. I have seen multiple embankments. I think around Cincinnati there's specifically an embankment that I saw where the it had like a sidewalk on the top of it too. So I think this is fine, and I think it looks good. I might need to terraform it just a little bit all around the edges to get some more of that grass going, but I like the idea of it so far. I also wanted to place a train depot here, just like how they have it in Jeffersonville. It's going to be a little bit different because I have less room to work with on this side, so I'm going to have to try to figure out how to squeeze everything in here. And then so I'm going to flatten out the area by the river um, across this whole town, just so that I have some room for like some port things. It won't necessarily be a port at all. I'm thinking maybe at one point it was a port, and then as time has gone by, it's kind of lost that purpose and is now just more of a riverside industrial area. And then what you're seeing me build in the background here is you saw the Google Earth images. It looked like there was a building there. I'm guessing that's kind of the control room for the gate. So that's what I'm going to try to recreate here. I'm just going to take some of these static ploppables of the one of the 2x2 industries, and I'm just going to create a big box, just generic looking as possible, and then I'm just going to recolor it all up. Alright, and here's the end product of the restaurant on the river. I think it looks good. I particularly like this grassy patch here. Maybe it shows, kind of what plants you would see by the riverbed before this was all kind of keyed up. But I think it looks nice. Now, we'll be zoning up these suburbs leading up to the main street, and I'll catch you guys after. Alright, we're back here. This is the intersection of Chestnut Street and Spring Street in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Now, this is the kind of point of inspiration I immediately thought of when I wanted to build this smaller city here. I've been to this spot quite a few times at this point. There's a lot of cool restaurants, like look at that. They got seating on the road. I don't really know how safe that is, but it's pretty cool. It's interesting. And then there's also the river walk just north of this with the view of the Louisville skyline. So I think I've been here enough times to have a pretty good understanding of how to recreate this with the hotel there in the parking lot. So this corner here, it'll be a little one-to-one But as far as the rest of the town goes, it's it we start to deviate. So don't worry, I'm not gonna build a one-to-one copy of anything here. I will say it's great to see some assets coming out on the PDX mods page. A lot of this stuff is just really fitting the bill for what I'm trying to make here. I'll I'll highlight a few things specifically as the video goes on, but I just gotta say to all the asset editors, creators out there, keep up the good work. I also have to say I've recently found the joy of splicing the non-functional static ploppables into some of these more functional assets. I think it's awesome what you can really just create on your own without having a specific asset there that is like your exact fit. And so I'm just gonna say you guys will probably be seeing a lot more of these kind of things going forward. Here I'm starting to work on that parking lot that we saw on Google Earth. I know it would be easier for me to just throw down one of the parking lot assets, but to me, it's almost like landscaping when it comes to some of these parking lots. The, I mean, the way you can just get it to fit a specific area you want, it helps make the build feel more alive. And here I'm placing down some assets from the Multicultural Pack by Trist1322. They're the author of a lot of the really great Australian assets. I just put down one of their pubs just a second ago on the corner there. But these are awesome. They're very uniquely shaped. There's a bunch of them to choose from as well, and they're all slightly different shops that just add a little bit more flavor into the city. So this is a great pack, so I definitely recommend checking it out. You might have noticed I tend to jump around a lot while I'm building in this game. You'll have to forgive me. There's a lot of shiny things out now for City Skylines 2, and I tend to get a little bit carried away with one thing or another. But overall, the intersection's hitting all the stops that I want it to. You got the mixed zoning up against the main street. We got the parking lot, that house to the side there, I really like. And then the beige parking lot, that's gonna be where the hotel sits. Alright, this video is getting a little long, and I still have about an hour of actual footage I'm considering using for this, so I think what we're gonna have to do is sort of a speed build type scenario. So everybody hold on to your seatbelts, it's gonna be a ride. was a lot crammed into not a lot of time, and not even close to being done with the town. So I'm thinking the rest of it's gonna be saved for next episode. Just I don't even know what my kind of thought was at the beginning of this episode, but I feel like it kind of got out of hand, and so I think a lesson can be learned here. I might need to kind of lower the scope of my ambitions for the time being until I can get a little bit more focused on what I'm actually looking to do. The remainder of the episode now is just going to be focused on some smaller details that I kind of like, especially in this town. Just the random landscaping that I put down for this hospital. I thought, just something small like that, but it's just something you can kind of hone in on. The lovely river walk. Here we can see some of our citizens enjoying the walk to and from the main street, fully immersed in the Ohio River in all its splendor. A bare concrete pad with a warehouse right next to it. It's just asking to be detailed up. Taking a look on Google Earth, I'll notice that some industrial areas are a lot closer to some houses than I would initially think. So while it might not be ideal for these people to live right next to this kind of logging sawmill area, it certainly isn't out of the realm of possibilities. And I think it just gives this corner of the town a little quirk, to have just this open air sawmill, all this dust flying around. The neighbors hate it. Everybody hates in this area, but it's here to stay. Alright, that'll complete today's episode. We got a lot done today, with the completion of our starting town and starting the larger town this side of the river. I think we're in a good spot. In the next episode, we'll be focusing on finishing up a bit of the central core of this town here. We'll focus more on some of the riverside zoning and a few other builds that I think are pretty cool. I want to thank you all for watching today. I really appreciate it. Leave a like and consider subscribing if you like what you've seen so far. Also, comment on what you like, what you don't like, maybe a suggestion for some of the blank areas that I have around the area, as well as maybe a detail that I've missed along the way. And with that, I hope y'all have a good one.